But at the end of the day, we can have the most dedicated teachers, the most supportive parents, the best schools in the world, and none of it will make a difference. None of it will matter unless all of you fulfill your responsibilities. Unless you show up to those schools, unless you pay attention to those teachers, unless you listen to your parents and grandparents and other adults and put in the hard work it takes to succeed.
But what about those teachers? What about those schools? Nice motivational speech. However, everywhere we look, resources are being cut, classes are getting bigger or both, and everywhere money is the reason. Reality check. Public schools in Pennsylvania are starting the year more than $1 billion in arrears, because the state hasn't passed a budget. In Detroit, 29 schools have been closed and 1,700 teachers laid off. In Arizona, some classes now have as many as 50 students. 20,000 teachers have been laid off in California. And just south of Columbus, Ohio, the Southwestern City School District can't afford any after-school activities. It's scrapped them all. So what's the answer? Jeannie Allen has some ideas. She's president of the Nonpartisan Center for Education Reform. She joins me now live from Baltimore. And you know, Jeannie, as we were looking through that speech, yes, it was very motivational. But when you really sit around the table, and this is what we did, various different education and parents and brothers and sisters and knowing the educational system, bottom line, school districts are suffering everywhere right now.
Not only the school districts suffering, Kira, but our kids are actually suffering. With 5,000 failing schools across America, hello? I mean, all the stuff that you guys just described about budgets being cut and teachers being furloughed, the other thing that we're not talking about is that no matter how hard these kids work, and look, the president did Parenting 101 common sense stuff today. This is not controversial, but we need a huge wake-up call. We should be saying to the teachers, if you're really not the best you can be, you need to look in the mirror. We need to be saying to school district officials, how can you tolerate failing schools year after year? We're getting the pants beat off of us by other industrialized countries in math and science. The reality check really is, what can we do to get our schools fixed now so that those kids working hard that we let out at the door this morning really do have a chance at success?
And it's interesting, I was passing one of our television sets in the newsroom and I stopped and I was watching this PSA, and it was so interesting the way it was put together. I wanted to know the message behind it, and it leads to our discussion. Take a look at a piece of this PSA.
Did you know that many states use third grade reading exams to predict future prison growth? And that more than 1 million kids drop out of school before high school each year? And that these kids are 8 times more likely to end up in prison? It's true. 60% of America's prison inmates never finished high school. And now many states are spending more money on prisons and less on public education.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I know you shake your head. Isn't there more money going into public education today and fewer students than 5 years ago? I think I was reading that in an article that we got in our research.
Than ever before, about $10,000 per student, and roughly half is actually making it to instructional people, our teachers, and our principals on the front lines who need control over that money aren't getting it. It's being peeled off in school districts. We have bus routes. I just saw one this morning. 6 kids got on a bus to go half a mile. I mean, this happens every day in America, so it's not how much we have, it's how we're spending it. Money can really help. We know that. We have to pay for schools, but we have to pay for schools that are working. As long as we're tolerating failure, look, we have a huge debate going in this country. We know that parents need options. While we are figuring out how to fix our schools, they should have real choices. There should be meaningful accountability that allows people to either leave or have options of better schools. We should be firing people who don't do a great job and pouring money on those who do. That's performance pay. This was an opportunity for the president to give us all a wake-up call to say, look, we've got to adopt real policies, no matter which adults it hurts, so that these kids' hard work does really matter at the end of the day.
You know, you mentioned performance pay, and you've talked about higher standards. And then what about what some of these superintendents are doing? I think in Chicago and D.C., they're actually letting these teacher contracts totally go, right, in the failing schools, and then they turn them over to organizations and people that can run them better? Is that a new trend? Would that be fruitful if more superintendents took this on?
I'll tell you, it's one of the most promising things, but they are fighting tooth and nail to get this done. In Washington, D.C., the chancellor has been trying a mayoral control district that's been doing better and better every year because of these kind of reforms. She's been trying to get a hold of teacher union contracts so she can actually evaluate people for whether or not they really do help kids achieve, and she's been fought by the unions. In Chicago, the same thing. L.A. just asked for control over being able to turn over failing schools to private managers. We're seeing promising results from this kind of sort of decentralization or citizen control of schools in Philadelphia. Charter schools, hybrid schools, entrepreneurs helping take over our schools. We're a smart country. We need to invite more people in than just the regular folks because we've got a national problem. We've got to solve it with a national solution.
Tell you what, it's not just the kids that are going to have to work harder. Jeannie Allen, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Kira.
After years of warfare, another reminder of just how dangerous Afghanistan and Iraq